I know I've said a billion times it is the beginning of the end for the Nintendo 3DS line, but even now Nintendo is sort of acknowledging that is the beginning of the end for their portable product. Let's get into it. Kind of.
Skip it up and that up.
So Nintendo, ever since the Switch has been released for a while, has said that, no, we love the 3DS. Reggie in 2017 said, oh, the 3DS is going to be here for the foreseeable future, definitely for 2018. We're going to keep on making games for it. It's a great system. It's a great starter system. And that's been Nintendo's stance on it. I personally believe the reason why they're doing that is because they wanted to make sure the Switch was successful. Because if the Switch bombed and they stopped supporting the 3DS, then they would have nothing. And then they would be in deep trouble. But now that the Nintendo Switch is wildly successful, even though it didn't hit the 20 million sold in the fiscal year mark, it only hit 17 million, which is still a hell of a number. Nintendo's sort of admitting that the 3DS is on its way out because sales for the system have contracted significantly, but they're still defending it. During a recent financial briefing, Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa, I think I said that right, talked about the Nintendo 3DS and the contracting sales, and this is what he had to say. So the question for Mr. Furukawa was, unit sales of Nintendo 3DS have declined significantly. I'd like to hear your thought on sales plans, for instance, coexistence of Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo Switch, as well as any ideas for Nintendo Switch at a lower price point or smaller size as such. And this is what Mr. Furukawa has to say. While the Nintendo 3DS market has contracted faster than we anticipated, currently many of consumers who newly purchased Nintendo 3DS are consumers purchasing Nintendo 3DS as their first game system. Nintendo 3DS is appealing as a portable game system that is easy to carry around, it is small and light, and at a very desirable price point. Demand still remains from parents looking to purchase a first game system for their children. That is why our basic policy is to proceed with both Nintendo Switch and Nintendo 3DS in our dedicated video game platform business. Regarding future sales of Nintendo Switch, what we first need is to drive sales of one system per household, and we will work towards increasing demand to expand the install base much further than now. On the other hand, in a survey of households asking how many family members use Nintendo Switch, we found that while a certain number of households have multiple family members who play in a single console, some households have already purchased multiple consoles. Going forward, we aim to generate such demand among consumers as they feel like, I want to have my own Nintendo Switch console, through measures such as software offerings. Not necessarily so that each person will have one, but so that each household will have multiple Nintendo Switch consoles. And I read that whole thing because there's a lot of context there. Here is what Nintendo is saying. Let me sum up what Mr. Furukawa is saying. Look, we get it. It's the beginning of the end. It's not even the beginning. The twilight years. We're in the twilight years of the Nintendo 3DS. But we need, before we just say, oh, we're done with the 3DS, we need the Switch to pick up that revenue stream. We need enough Switches out there that we could just say, okay, we're supporting the Nintendo Switch only. The 3DS, it's old. It's almost 8 years old. It's done. What they want is there to be like 2 or 3 Switches per household. And when they see that a ton of homes have like 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 Nintendo Switches in them, then they're going to be like, you know what, we have enough out there. It's time that we could kill off the 3DS because we're making enough revenue from the Switch alone that we could get rid of this dated product. They're like, look, we know the 3DS is dying. It's old. People are tired of the hardware. But look, kids are still playing it. Like I said, you could buy that Wedge 2DS with a game. I think it comes with new Super Mario Brothers for it, or you can get it even with Mario Kart for the 2DS, and it's a bundle. You get the system and the game for $70. So if you're a parent with a 5-year-old and you don't want to go out and spend $300 on a Nintendo Switch, or anywhere from $300 to $400 to $500 on an Xbox One, you get them that. and there's a ton of games for it, a ton of awesome games for the 2DS, and they'll be happy, and they're young. You don't have to worry about 4K or 4K televisions or whatever. You just get them a cheap, small system that with a ton of games, and it's affordable. And they're like, hey, there's still a big market for that. So when we see multiple, like when you go to your friend's house, even if they're not big gamers, and you see that they may have a Switch and their son or daughter may have a Switch and the wife may have her own Switch, when you see that as a semi-normal thing, then they'll be like, all right, it's time to kill off the 3DS. The Switch is picking up the financial slack of the 3DS. We can now finally kill it off. But they're still not 100% comfortable doing that because they want to make sure that there's going to be multiple Switches in people's homes first, and that's what they're waiting on. When that happens, which I think it's going to happen soon, especially if they release a Switch Mini, then it's time to say farewell to the 3DS line because it's been out for almost a decade. It's time. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.
Hey, congratulations! If you made it to the end of the video, you should subscribe to Review Tech USA so you can hear me blabber on some more. Also, too, starting this month, I will be live streaming solely on Twitch. I'll have a link to my Twitch channel below in the description. And last but not least, make sure you click that like button. It helps out the show big time. See you guys in the next video.